What are some of the other essential structures that you highly recommend?
No, so I think the bigger problem is like what got people to starting their own company is actually what's impeding them to growing and scaling their own company. And let me explain. Most roofers came from some roofing company. They were a top performer. They got disgruntled. They said, well, why don't I just get paid the whole stack? And they start roofing company.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I've got Sam Taggart on. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. Excited to be here.
And we're talking about becoming a more proactive salesperson and sales systems to create a more robust sales structure in your business. So tune in if you're a growth mode roofing business or any other kind of home service contractor. Sam, you've worked with so many different industries, but like, what are some of your like top industries right now? What are you cranking into right now?
Yeah, roofing's probably number one and been probably one of our largest over the last probably 2-3 years, but been in it since 2018. And then solar is kind of on a decline right now. It's been having a lot of shots fired, but that's
Yeah,
always historically been a big one for us. Pest control. Then you have telecommunications like fiber and internet. Turf is an up and coming one that's been fun. Permanent lighting has been a fun one lately. Um, you know, Lots. I'm speaking at the biggest insurance conference on Monday in Dallas. But
interesting.
yeah, do all sorts of different industries.
Give us a little news. I like to make this thing entertaining sometimes too. Give us a little news update about solar. Like, what are like the big news headlines?
The big beautiful bill, as Donald Trump called it. And basically, it's a proposed step back of this 30% federal tax credit, but then also affecting the ability to sell a loan, where if you took like most states, the loan is the really only option, where in the major solar states, lease and PPA, which is a financial product essentially that you can get solar with, like California or Illinois or, Massachusetts, like those are going to survive and be great. But there will definitely be a shift in margins. A lot of companies going out. Two of the largest banks just filed bankruptcy, Mosaic and Sonova, and some of these larger groups. And so you've got EnFin not paying people. You've got a lot of money being held. And so it's just a kind of a rocky area. If you're a sales rep and all of a sudden your company didn't get paid by the bank and they're supposed to pay you from that money, and you're sitting there going, dang, I got 100 grand in commissions waiting to get paid, just affecting a lot of people right now. And, what's fun, so the other side of that is you have a deadline at the end of the year. Hey, the tax credit's going away. Might as well save 30% right now while you can. So sales are going like either way up or people are already kind of like, I'm throwing in the towel. I fought a good fight. What do we do? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's just
Interesting.
everyone's taking a different approach. Some people are like, we're going to weather the storm, adapt, and figure it out after the bill passes, and some of them are like, I'm exhausted and want to try a new industry. So I think you're going to see a shift in talent, like a big shift into different home service businesses. Windows is a big up and coming that we service a lot in. Hard landscape. It's just it'll be interesting to see where a lot of the talent moves. And there's some really talented large organizations in the solar space.
Killers will always have a job, right? Like,
Exactly. It's like they're just like new product, new widget, same
yeah.
process. You know what I mean? Like,
Talk to me about you got this book, Eat What You Kill.
yeah.
Basically,
So
the
came
book
out in
for
January.
folks. Yeah. Go ahead.
So it's becoming a sales carnivore. It's a sales book. I've written a few books, and this has been our latest, kind of bestseller. Sold probably 8,000 copies since January, and so um, it's today's marketplace. It's interesting. Me and you both spoke at that HVAC conference. What was it called? Rocket Summit or whatever, right? And I was on a panel, and they were talking about ad spend not going as far as maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And you obviously are in marketing, so you're probably seeing the trends.
Yes, it's been going up for all these industries.
Yes. So it's like, let's say that it's down 30% or you have to spend 30% more to get a lead or whatever the number is. Well,
Mm.
if you're running on a business and you have to increase spend by 30% and your creation costs just, that's like a lot of your margin. You know what I mean? You do the
Yeah.
math and you're like, okay, what I was just kind of slinging deals on a Facebook ad, I can't just like, I can't survive that easy. And so it's like, how do we in a marketplace where maybe that's a little tougher with AI and, the economy right now with interest rates, how do we get more carnivore like sales cultures that are willing to go hunt, that are, that dying art of just the cold call, the door knock, the pick up the phone and call the old leads. I think today's economy, as of the last like 10 years, created some pretty soft sales individuals. Like it was pretty responsive, reactive. As long as the phone was ringing, which it was, we're in business. Where today the phone's not ringing as much. Now you're like, okay, I got to shift gears. So it's kind of an anthem to anything from the mentality of an outbound salesperson to the sales pitch to the prospecting, presenting, objection handling, closing. And it's an all-encompassing sales book to beef up your sales team to be like, hey, go be freaking carnivores and get off your ass and stop being an herbivore.
But these guys don't read.
It's on Audible.
No,
it's true, though.
Dude. I'm saying that because I don't read.
It's true. And,
yeah,
I used to say that, and I bragged about that a long time ago. When I was, I think I'm 23 years old, and Tony Robbins comes to Vivint, and he was, the big company, and they brought him in, and he was like, leaders or readers. And I'd always bragged about it. I'd only read like 4 books in my life. And I started to like pay attention to like, okay, what is it that really all the really successful, smart people do that I don't? Why are they readers? And it's just like the element of tapping into an author's brain and the compilation of, my 20 years of door-to-door sales experience compiled into like a $15-20 book. Like, you know what I mean? And you just launched a book, and congrats, by the way. I know it takes a lot of work to go throw something together.
It's ridiculous.
This was a 3-year project with the largest, publisher in the world, Penguin Random House. And it was
oh my God.
Yeah, it was a fun escapade essentially. But like, I failed English. I think like to me, like that was like my stick it to my effing Miss Areola was her name. And I was like,
no way.
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, you suck. Like I want to literally like spam mail her right now and be like, hey, see all the books I've written? I was featured in New Yorker, New York Times, USA Today, Entrepreneur Magazine, and I've written 4 books. Like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, and I'm not going to do that, but I just struggled. I had ADD. I had so much to do, and I was always like hands-on, kinesthetic learner. And I've just had to figure out how to adapt. And I think a lot of business owners don't realize that like your ego and your putting your heels in the sand around an identity of I'm not a reader or I don't have time or blah, blah, blah is actually one of the bigger impediments I watch when I coach business owners of just like, hold on, your identity has been this to whatever thing. It could be I'm a marketing company. We don't do door-to-door. That's one we hear a lot, right? Or I'm a contractor. I'm not a sales guy. And I'm like, no, you're a business owner and you do sales. And without sales, you have no business. So why don't you put on the hat of sales guy? But they're afraid to shift these identities or they lock in on certain mindsets that get them stuck. And a lot of the work that we do is actually, how do we change the internal belief systems to then start changing the external results first?
Yeah, I was thinking of that about identity a lot as I was writing my book. By the way, I think it's crazy when you do write a book, you realize, oh man, people try to stuff every tiny last bit of ounce of value that they have in their brain into something. And it's like, wow, it almost makes you want to read more books. I listen to books is what I do. I listen to a lot of books on Audible, and I listen to them at 1.5, and that's why I talk like this sometimes accidentally. But also, if I'm in a half an hour, I'll just stop because I realize you don't have to finish the books that you start. And once you either get the key ideas, kind of if it's one of those books that's fluffy, or you get enough of the main ideas that you don't necessarily need to finish it, then I just move on.
Well, here's a cool hack. Like, because I like when I'm running or trail running or whatever, I'll listen to an Audible book. And when you're in the move, you can't really do a series of note taking. And so I've got my own GPT trained that's basically my Pam Taggart is what I call it. And I basically talk into it while I'm running. I'll be like, pause my Audible book. And I'll say, hey, in chapter 5 of Eat What You Kill, Sam Taggart talked about this. Can you give me a quick summary of it? And then I'll save that in my notes. Because a lot of times, so the ability to kind of say, hey, where's the subtopics or the chapter headings that I care about? How do I fast forward to that? Then how do I use GPT to then help summarize the basic concept so that I can consume and implement education faster. Because I think a lot of people, they read books or they'll listen to audio or whatever, but their problem is the execution of an implementation of the book. And so it's like, if I were to say, what was the book you read 3 books ago? You're like, oh, first off, that's gonna be hard to think through. Then I'm like,
Yes.
okay, what were the 3 things you implemented from that book? And you're like, oh, geez, like, now we take like, why are we even learning? I think the unconscious, habit of I'm a grower, I'm learning, I'm listening to a podcast right now. It's like, great. Now what the hell are you going to do with this thing that you like? You're not listening to this for entertainment. You're listening to this for like 1, 2, 3 nuggets that you can take out of this and then execute on and find your growth phase in life.
I want to get into the specific topic of being a proactive salesperson and then creating a robust sales structure in your business. First, I want to add one more kind of AI-driven tip here, just in case. If people haven't checked it out, Notebookm by Google, notebooklm.google, you can paste like a book, YouTube videos, a bunch of stuff, and then turn it into a podcast that's like 15 minutes. And essentially it sounds like a conversation between 2 people. Notebooklm.google. I just did it like with mine, and I was trying to like, get a summary of mine and try to like understand how this tool works. And I was like, this is mind blowing. So it creates instant study guides and gives you the basic premise of key information so you can learn faster. And guys like Sam, and I mean, like a lot of people that are at the high level want to get as much information as we possibly can. You know what I mean? And I think that is a beautiful thing to use these tools as appropriate. And then every once in a while, you just need to sit down and just like luxuriate in a book. So it can be all of the above. Let's talk about this proactive salesperson thing. What's the difference, real quick, between herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores when it comes to sales? What is the difference?
So Rilla allows you to listen to, it's an AI in your pocket, listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, gives everything they said, it breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth, longest modeling, like all those things.
This is the shit that I most believe in AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
Well, it's interesting. You're obviously listening to this because you follow Tim. You are interested in marketing, and then you get the door-to-door guy or the direct sales guy who I know a lot about marketing, but I don't want to preach that. And you're like, well, how does this relevant? Well, at the end of the day, an herbivore is somebody that's like, feed me a lead, an appointment, and I will call it and I will close it. And you need those farmers in your business, especially if you're doing marketing. Because the bigger problem sometimes with a carnivore is like, I don't need a lead. I don't want an appointment. I want to go self-generate because I can get paid more and I'm on my own time frame and I go create and eat what I kill. An omnivore is a rare breed, like a unicorn. They're very hard to find. Many of you guys are like, I'm an omnivore. I have omnivores. I'm like, yeah, I beg to differ. I've consulted and trained hundreds and hundreds of companies and thousands of reps. It's very hard to find omnivores, meaning you feed them leads, and then in between appointments, you expect them to actually go and carnivore or create appointments. Because the tradition is like, let's say you're in roofing, you book 3 appointments for your guy to go sell, and 2 of them no-show. Ask yourself, what does that guy do during the 2 no-shows? That'll give you a clear indicator of like, oh yeah, Sam, he gets it. Like, as much as you tell him, why don't you go knock around the neighbors, or why don't you go, drive, cold call these people? Here's a list. It's like, they just don't. And it's okay. As long as you can keep 3 to 4 or 5 appointments a day on their calendar, you just know the numbers and they're going to close it 20 to 30% and they're going to do X, and you have like clockwork systems, but you should never overpay these type of people because they're easier to find and manage and keep around, because you're like, the second I turn off your leads, you have no job and your livelihood, and everybody will take that position. Which the problem is when those tail wags the dog and those herbivores think they're all in control and they think that they're the next, LeBron James. And you're like, no offense, if I stopped marketing and I stopped paying Tim and I stopped, like, you aren't that cool. Like you're dependent on, like you're as good as my
It's
marketing.
real.
It's real.
Yeah.
Like no offense. Like I'm glad
Yeah.
that you know how to talk to people, but let's just be real. If you don't have people to talk to, then you die. So
Yeah.
Carnivore is somebody that does not need Tim. They will completely self-generate their own appointments, leads, and close deals.
And we kind of talked about this beforehand, but do they need to be separate people? Is it basically, should you have both in your business? Really because like I'm thinking about most of our salespeople, for instance, are herbivores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think they're amazing.
And they're great people. I'm not saying they're
lead babies, though. That's okay. I'm not mad at them. That's how our business is. We know how to organically generate leads, etc., whatever. But I do want to get one because I don't like when there's like a contraction. You know what I mean? Like if like last year was a weird year because of the election year and a lot of people were holding back on certain things. I would have really I tried to get everyone like, all right, let's go out. Let's talk to people, like let's hunt. And they didn't want to hunt, right? So like, do you need a separate person?
100%.
Really?
100%. And they can't be like, it's almost like if you were to mix the lion with the turkeys, like it'd just be a weird dynamic in the zoo. You know what I mean? You're like, you don't put them in the deer pen. It's just like you keep them in separate cages. The gators are over here.
So do you really not do sales meetings with both in the same meeting?
No.
Really?
They're not like playing the same game. And so if the one herbivore is like, I did $100,000 this month, and the carnivore's over here like, well, I only did 30, but I generated everything. But he's now going to look less than and feel guilty and he feel like he sucks. And you're trying to score them on the same metrics, but you're like, dude, I spoon fed you 20 leads. Of course you should have done $100,000. Does that make sense? Like I had to pay freaking $50,000 to get your $100,000 or whatever the number is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the hard part is when you put their KPIs next to each other, you compete them in the same playing game. It'd be like you play chess, I play checkers. It's not fair. You know what I mean? And so I like to have a carnivore culture. And they have their meetings, they have their KPIs, they have their game, and I have the snipers is what I call them, which is the herbivores. They're the old furniture salesmen that are just going to show up to the homes. They're never going to go knock, and they're just really good at closing, really good with people. They're going to follow your process. They're going to implement your CRM shit right. Don't expect the carnivores to be really good with your CRM. Don't expect them to be good with like data. They're just like warriors, go out, hunt, fight, and figure out a process to go catch what they kill. Or like to like clean up and skin and cook what they kill. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So can you really, because we're going to talk about systems next. So like as a good transition for real though, separate meetings, what is this like? Walk me through this. If you're a roofing company, since this is a roofing podcast, what would that really look like? Like walk me through the week.
So,
are they different times? Do we really have separate?
Every day. The carnivores need to meet every day. The non-carnivores should meet maybe twice a week, where the carnivores maybe shouldn't do project management, where the herbivores maybe should do project management. Does that make sense?
What time of the day would you, like if you had to outline this for real, like what are you suggesting? Like if you were like, counsel me, pretend I'm starting a roofing company.
So we have a business boot camp. We have one the end of July. We do them every other month where we teach the system. We have an 80-page playbook that goes through structure, pay, process, tools. Like this is what we've been doing for 9 years is coaching companies. And we've probably coached, 400 or 500 roofing companies. So let's just, not my first rodeo. I'm actually in the middle of an acquisition right now at the $300 million roofing company, right? So like
sweet.
We've helped from little guy to big guy. And it's really hard to do when you're
there's not that many of those, by the way. So I'm kind of like doing some deduction here. Like, let's see, 300. Okay. Which one is that?
We won't go down.
I'm just kidding.
So
we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. So the long story short, it's like you have, the problem is most roofers are like 3-man shows. They're really like owner, couple dudes, and that's about it. So that's much harder to implement 2 separate systems when you only have 3 guys. So one of our programs is called Recruit-O-Matic, where we recruit, 5 to 10 guys every month for a company. And all of a sudden they actually have a sales army. But why would they never do that? well, I don't have enough leads to provide 10 new sales guys. Then I'd have to spend like $100,000 a month to provide leads enough for 10 sales guys, right? So this is where they get stuck. They're like, I can't go get more people because they're going to want more appointments and I don't have enough. So let's just identify that first. Number two is, okay, now I have my herbivores that are going to take inbound leads and I'm going to keep them in a little silo and they're going to have their, we'll call them snipers. You don't see them, you don't hear about them. They're in their own little game. Carnivores, you should keep them selling. What problem in roofing we see is they pay this stupid 10-50-50 and they make them do soup to nuts all the way to picking up a check. And I'm like, well, that's not scalable because you don't keep the carnivore hunting. You now have him skinning, meeting with people, calling for scheduling. You know what I mean? And it's like, now he's doing 7 things that have nothing to do with hunting and selling. So I would then build a system of project manager and sales rep, where now you have some of your herbivores could be paid a partial paycheck because they are just herbivores. And they're like, dude, I'll take anything I can get. And you say, hey, we'll split the deal. Carnivore will go sell the front end. He'll file a claim, get signature. Maybe you have him go all the way through to getting final signature on approved. And then you have herbivore take it from there. And so you, depending on where the pass off is then you just have these sales guys just filing more claims, signing more deals, filing more claims, signing more deals, but don't make them effing project manage. That's where you have a back end office or give those to the herbivores. So now they're working as a team. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what are some of the other essential structures that you highly recommend, or like, what is, like, I know that we can't outline all of this because that's what you do with them, but talk to me through some of the overarching principles that a lot of people are missing that they need to be looking to fix on me as soon as possible. Because I trust that you know this stuff, and I really do appreciate your expertise.
No, so I think the bigger problem is like what got people to starting their own company is actually what's impeding them to growing and scaling their own company. And let me explain. Most roofers came from some roofing company. They were a top performer. They got disgruntled. They said, well, why don't I just get paid the whole stack? And they start roofing company. Barrier to entry is fairly low, but then they are the main producer. They're the ones that are like, I'm going to every appointment. I'm the one freaking know every customer, and it's the quality is their obsession or whatever, right? And the problem is they're the one doing, not the one directing. And so we teach basic formula called the D2D formula. Get more reps, get your reps talking to more people, and get them closing at a higher percentage equals more revenue. And what I mean by that is like you could either provide more reps, more leads, or you could get the reps knocking more doors or talking to more people, however you want to formulate that. But then you're like, okay, how do I get more reps? So let's talk about a recruiting system. So most people, they're like, oh man, I won't recruit veterans. I could argue that. Most people are like, oh, I only need 3 guys. I'm like, I could argue that. I'm like, you have Dallas, Texas, and you want 4 sales reps. Congratulations. There's like millions of people. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I hate to break it to you. Why don't you have an army of 200 people there? And they're like, oh, that's too hard to handle. I'm like, that's because you do not know how to manage systems and you're trying to manage people. If you had to manage 200 people, that is a lot to manage. But if you knew how to manage a system and let the system manage the people, and you're playing director of a system, then it's just the same. You know, it's just like plug them into to flow and let them manage themselves. And so most people, they don't have a recruiting system to go scale that. And then the left arm to that is the training. So we have D2D University, that's an automated online training system that whether you sell door to door or you sell online, it still works. It's got 8-9 hours of roofing content or solar content, or we've done it in pest control, fiber, alarms, and these industry specific training systems to where you can track how much people are learning, track their progress. It's got, you know, some AI in it to interact with them. It's really robust training system. So it's like, okay, I recruit people, but what I really want is performers. And I think this is where people struggle is they're like, I have bodies, but I don't have performers. And where that struggle is the owner struggles at leadership and leadership development, meaning I'm a good sales rep, but I'm not a good accountability coach, CEO, manager, meaning I have the executive officer in my title, meaning I can hold a standard. And I'm reading a book right now called Doing the Hard Things or something like that by, what's it called? It's like The Hard Things About Hard Things. Hold on, let me get the title. But long story short, it's like he says,
And Horowitz.
Yeah. That's it. The hard thing about hard things. And he says he goes to football practice when he's younger, and the coach is like, you don't show up to a meeting, pack up your stuff, turn in your shit. You show up late, turn in your shit. You don't want to do the drills, turn in your shit. Where most people are like stoked to just have a body. And I'm sure you see this in marketing. You're like, just because you have 3 sales guys, stop bitching about the leads. Who says your sales guys aren't the problem? Does that make sense?
That's exactly it. So we've had clients, and I'm going to say it because it's past clients or whatever, where you can feel the tail wagging the dog, where it's like the salespeople are mad if there's not enough leads. And a lot of times, to be fair, this business owner made the decision to hire 5 herbivores.
Yeah.
But to fire, you can tell where my head's going.
Yeah.
Get rid of some people that are soft. That's usually what I like when people come to me. Like I'm not a business consultant. I'm not a coach. I'm not a guru of any type. But when people come to me and they're like, this is going on, we're shrinking, whatever, there's things. And I'm feeling responsible because I'm their marketing.
Yeah, you're providing them leads.
I feel like, damn, dude, what did we do? But then I like think to myself, I'm like, the last time I was in cause I study their salespeople and they'd never work for me. They'd never work for me, bro. And so I'm like, cause they're chilling. They're chilling too much.
Well,
and
here's the thing though. You'll give them a lead. They'll show up to the house and then they're like, oh, we thought about it. We're not interested. And the rep will be like, oh, okay. See you later.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, or they call them, hey, I just want to confirm before I drive 30 minutes that you're actually interested. It's like, hold on.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It's like,
we were listening to a call the other day, and so because we listen to all the calls or whatever, and somebody's like, they got told they're one of 3 quotes, and they're like, I wish you wouldn't have told me that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing out here?
It's just like, what are you saying? What are you doing?
There's so much stuff where there's weird phone etiquette and there's lack of intensity or like treating each lead like it's really important. And it could refer you a lot. So that's where I get frustrated. And then I'm just like, I'm the one that wants to run in and be like, fire. And then hire 2 good ones, dude, get 2 good ones first.
Yeah.
Then get 5 good ones. But you know what I'm saying? Like some people barely even have 1 good one. And they're confused why the 5 ones that are really lazy are like wagging them. But
the owner's going to feel exactly how you feel. And they're going to go, but these guys have families and these guys have, and I got to like make sure I give the evenly leads and I got to make sure that they're going to keep their jobs. Yeah. And it's like, how much stress did that owner now start to feel? And it's like, wait, you employed these people to scale your company. Not you didn't employ these to be a charity to try to keep them alive. And so I think this is where the problem starts to, exist is the owner is one, being too nice and not accountable and not training and not leading and not actually coaching. And they're just like running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And then I'm like, yeah, no wonder your guys suck. Like you don't actually meet and manage and train. Like we have a client, Nolan's roofing out of Florida, calls me SOS. He's like, I'm spending $200,000 a month on ads and it's not going anywhere. I need to get my guys to knock. And I'm like, well, how often do you meet with your sales guys? And, I started asking all these questions. I fly out there and I was like, oh my gosh, like you don't have any training. You don't even meet with your guys. You don't have accountability. I'm like, okay, like there's a start. Like, what are you doing to make these guys better? And so we rally them in. I brought in one of my coaches. He met with them like every week. And, we started like working with them. And then within 6 months, 50% of their revenue was coming from direct sales, door to door, not leads. And then within about a year, they went from 30 million to 60 million. And, it's just been cool to watch. Like they're now a carnivore and herbivore balanced company. And they've acquired another one of our clients. And now they're just like off to the freaking races. And it's really cool. But like they had no leadership in place. There was no middle level leadership. It was owner, bunch of reps, and that was it.
I want to note too, it's important to note there's different quality of herbivores. So for instance, we have 2 herbivores, but they're really good quality. And I know companies where they'll have 5 herbivores and they won't do any, you know what I mean? Like they don't follow up. For instance, there's a quality of good herbivores will follow up a lot until they hear no, basically. Like there are levels to that too. So you call them snipers, right?
Yep.
That's like, we want snipers. We don't want pew pew. Like,
Well, here's the
guy
thing.
with a
Strong culture comes with low tolerance in the sense of Navy SEAL sniper is not going to be just any Joe Schmo. Imagine if you're listening to this, imagine a Navy SEAL sniper in an image. You're not going to see some fat potato chip dude. You're going to see like ripped up, tatted up, like dude you don't want to mess with, because you already know they had to go through buds training. They had to go through, you know what I mean? Like they started with 170 people and it went down to 20 people actually finished the hell weeks to even go to the next thing. So the higher the initiation and the harder the initiation, the higher level of respect you have for that job or that role. And so I think a lot of people, they have a very low barrier to entry to be a qualified herbivore. Before you start handing somebody leads, don't you think you should put them through a ringer for 3 weeks and make them show carnivore-like things, not hand them your most value prize lead and say, prove to me you deserve effing herbivore leads. You know what I mean? Prove to me that you actually know how to do anything, and your first month is going to suck. But if you can make it through my first month and I'm going to make this hell, it shows me you're actually a winner. And I'm okay with the turnover. I'm going to hire 10 of you. You're all going to get self-generated carnivore, and I'm going to keep 3 of you because 7 of you I probably am so grateful I don't keep you longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah, there is a little bit of an element of you. Like, when I think about letting people go, I coach people through that. Like, it fucking sucks no matter what. You don't want to have to do that. No one wants to do that. But it is a thing you have to do in your business. I think it's released to industry. They'll go get a different job. They'll be fine, usually. I think of 72 hours of hell. The day before sucks. Before you fire somebody, the day of sucks. The day after sucks for everyone. It's not a fun thing, whatever. But it's not forever. And then I think about it. It's helping the people around them. That's what makes it a lot. That's what makes it a lot easier. Is like when people are underperforming, it definitely drags down the team.
100%.
So, and they're trying to help. You know, like you think maybe that doesn't always happen with salespeople, but they're trying to help them. Oh, please, we want you to do well. You're spending all that time. That's money making time, and like respectfully, like it happens in our business too. Like if there's a developer or whatever that's not pulling their weight, and the other people are always fixing their work, then that's wasted effort. And it's like ultimately those people will be relieved.
Yes.
And this happens all the time in roofing companies. People, you don't even realize how much they're dragging your team down. And then when you let them go, everyone else comes to you and is like, oh, by the way, that was glad you did that.
100%.
You know, we've got, we talked about carnivores. We talked about systems. I know that there's a lot more that people could learn from you. I noticed you guys you do a little hell week sometimes. I saw my boy Dan Walrack down there. I'm pretty sure he was knocking a door without pants on.
It's in his underwear, yes.
And I got that video and I was like, damn, this sucker will go viral. Can we please post this? And he's like, it doesn't really reflect on my brand quite right, et cetera, et cetera. But I will note, it was a bold move, and I'm pretty sure he sold the guy, which is insane. That dude is an interesting guy. I hope that you feel that too. Dan is an unusually compelling person, I think.
Phenomenal dude.
Yeah.
For context, he sold a no soliciting sign, door to door, shirt off, pants off, in his underwear. And he sold it not for $15, which we said minimum. We sent about 100 salespeople out door to door to sell no soliciting sign at one of our events. Our events are very unconventional, not like your typical sit in a conference room and whatever. And he sold it for like $125. And I was like, damn. And he didn't install it on their house. He installed it on the dude's golf cart. So it was awesome.
Which was like, what is he even up to? I've gone out and like kind of just shadowed him in his daily life a couple times just because I'm like curious about what this guy is about and how he did 18.5 million in 1 year, right? And I just got the presumptive selling, like he always feels like he could do the next thing. He could always get the referral. He could always get the review. He just kind of assumes that they love him and that it's going to go well. He just has this great attitude. Is there any other like attitudes or like mindsets that you think are that you just notice in guys that are doing that good? Like that's an unusual. He's doing unusually well in his industry, right?
Yeah, I think it's that competitiveness. It's like they don't play to get a paycheck. They play to win. They're like, okay, if he did 18 million, how do I do 19? So like we have an event, Door to Door Con. So Golden Door was like 2.5 million in roofing, and each industry has their thing. And to see people like Dan's on that stage stoked to hold a double golden door or a single golden door every year. And he's just like, I play to get on that stage. I play to make sure that I'm like, I have 5 of those on my wall. I play to win, right? And not just like, I hope I make enough to pay my bills. So they're looking for environments. They're looking for competitions. Like right now we have the National Knocking League going on right now. And we have like Lifetime. They've been a client of ours for a while. And they have 3 of the top 8 teams in the quarterfinals right now. And it's cool to watch. And Zach and Alex, who own that roofing company, they texted me and they're like, yeah, we told it's teams of 5. So 5 teams. So teams of 5 competing across each other's companies. We had 22 teams to start. We're down to 8. And he's like, yeah, I threw in an extra 10 grand if they win this thing. I was like, and I said, well, why would he do that? And he's like, because I know how much more volume I'm going to get if they just play this game. And their guys are averaging like, 5 to 8 roofs a day or a week per guy. You know what I mean? And it's like most roofers don't do that a month per guy. And most don't have more than 15 reps in the quarter. You know what I mean? He has 15 of his reps are in the quarterfinals. So like,
it's incredible.
They just know, and those guys have been part of our community for a while now, and they just sold their company for 150 million. And it's like, you look at this in the sense of how do you play at a highest level and be around that, because culture rises the tide. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So when is the D2D Con this year?
January 23rd, I think. And then we have one in Canada coming up September 28th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So Canadians get at that September 28th, and we got, I don't know that we have that many. If you're from Canada, comment below. I'm curious. There's a couple of people that were trying to buy the book that I put out yesterday, How to Become a Hometown Hero. Give that one and Eat What You Kill. But that were from Canada. I'm like, I didn't know we had anyone from Canada. Best Damn Roofer posted about it, so maybe that's why.
We have a big community up in Canada. It's probably this
Cool.
like Calgary, where we're doing it, is probably our second biggest audience of door knockers, which is kind of crazy to think about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't clock them as that. It's kind of like Minnesota, where you got like over politeness sometimes that like holds people back.
Yeah.
The D2D Con though, January, what was it?
23rd and 24th in Utah. That one's in Utah.
I would love to be there.
Come, dude.
We should talk about that after this.
I know. We had 120 something vendors and 3,000 people, and working on some really cool speakers again this year that will be different and interesting. So it'll be fun.
Let's talk about that after this. Thank you for being on. Where can people check this out?
Yeah, you can go to thedd2dexperts.com or the Sam Taggart on Instagram. I'm here to support wherever I can. I'd say reach out to us. I mean, we have from recruiting to training to masterminds to different events happening, big ones to small ones. Really just trying to support that kind of blue collar person, scale their company. So that's what we're here for.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.